I will declare the meeting open, and thank you for those attending in the public gallery. This is the agenda for an ordinary council meeting tonight, Monday the 23rd of January 2023, commencing at 5:30. Item 1, we have apologies. We do not have any, I believe. We have a full house tonight, thank you. Sorry. Oh, okay. Councillor Ennis might be delayed. Okay, intending to attend. Okay, thank you. Acknowledgement of country. Devonport City Council acknowledges and pays respect to the Palawa Pakeha people as the traditional and original owners of Lutruwita and continuing custodians of this land on which we gather. We also acknowledge and pay our respects to the Tasmanian Aboriginal elders past and present. All persons in attendance are advised that it is council policy to record council meetings in accordance with council's digital recording policy. The digital recording of this meeting will be made available to the public on council's website for a minimum period of 6 months. The meeting will also be live streamed on council's YouTube channel. Thank you. Any declarations of interest, please?
Yes, Mayor, you do.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I declare interest in items 4.1. I am engaged in the real estate industry, but I'm not named the proponent, or nor have I been engaged by the proponent in my professional career, and I will be staying in the room. Item 4.2, declaring interest. Again, employed in the real estate industry. I am named the proponent and have been engaged by that proponent and shall be leaving the room. Item 4.3, as I've just previously stated, same circumstances, and I will be leaving the room. Item 4.6, again, employed in the real estate industry, and I'm not named the proponent, nor have I been engaged by the proponent previously, and I will be staying in the room. And item 4.7, where I am engaged in the real estate industry, I am named the proponent, and I will be leaving the room.
So just to clarify, 4.2, 4.3 and 4.7 you will be leaving the room.
4.2, 4.3 and 4.7 I will be leaving the room.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest? No? Thank you. So moving right along to the procedural section, 3.1, confirmation of minutes. If I could have a mover and a seconder, please.
So,
thank you, Councillor Murphy. And Councillor Martin, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
they're all there for everyone, so.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Any further comment? All those in favour?
Aye.
Any against? So carried. Thank you. 3.2 is public question time. Members of the public are invited to ask questions in accordance with Council's public question time policy. So 3.2.1, we're looking through to responses to questions raised at prior meetings. Do I have a mover, please?
So,
thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Councillor Hollister, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
all the responses are there, Mayor, and we recorded appropriately.
Thank you. Councillor Hollister.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Any further comment? All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 3.2.2, questions on notice from the public. If I can have a mover and a second, please.
I move.
Councillor Hollister.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Hollister, any comment?
It's all in the report there.
Thank you.
Anybody
Councillor Murphy.
agree?
Yeah, nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further comment? All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 3.2.3 is questions without notice from the public. So we do ask if anyone would like to come up and speak at the podium. Do state your name and address, please, as we go through, and we will look after those questions in the matter that fits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Douglas Janney, 23 Watkinson Street, Devonport. Question 1. What is the speed limit for e-scooters in the mall?
Take that on notice. I will say that.
Through you there.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the mall will be a no-go zone.
For ours.
Beg your pardon?
For our trial program that's coming up, the mall will be a no-go zone for scooters.
Is that for all scooters?
It is, I believe, it is,
Oh, is it?
yes.
Well, thank you.
Well, I suggest you need a sign at both ends of the mall saying that for those who've got private scooters.
So noted, Mr. Jenny, thank you.
Second question, there are two crosswalks 50 millimetres apart on Formby Road opposite Haynes Park. When is the council going to improve the pedestrian crossing at the four ways with lights or a crosswalk?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. There's no plans at this stage to do anything further to the crossing four ways.
Okay. Not good enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Jenny. Any further questions from the public gallery? Mr. Mills?
I am Christopher Mills, 52 Caroline Street. I have one question through your mayorship. It concerns name badges. Those council employees whose workplace is not in this office, but those who are out in the community are provided with a council uniform. It is a high-vis yellow or orange or pink or red shirt, the usual high-vis colours. Anyone can buy them, anyone can wear them. In this case, the wearer can only be identified as an employee of Devonport Council by a small logo. The Tasmanian Police, Fire Service, Ambulance Service, SES and so on also wear uniforms, all of which include a name badge. However, this council's uniform doesn't include a name badge. People are all different, and asking council employees their name could cause offence and even refusal. I'm raising this issue because I have recently experienced this, and of course I have the compelling evidence to make this claim. With respect, this council may be out of step with all other Tasmanian public service workers. The outdoor staff present as nameless and anonymous individuals in an assortment of high-vis shirts and a hodgepodge of colours. This is how they present to the council ratepayers who employ them. The specific question is, are the honourable councillors prepared to discuss with the management the adding of a name badge to council's uniforms? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. We're happy to take that and provide an answering notice. Thank you. Any other questions from the public gallery? We'll move on. Thank you very much for that. Item 3.3, questions or notice from councillors. There is none, so we'll move on. 3.4, notices of motion. 3.4.1, development of the naming of council community facilities and open space policy. Okay,
So moved.
mover. Thank you, councillor Martin. And seconder,
Seconded.
councillor Sheen. Thank you, councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. This motion is raised as an opportunity to further engage with our community, looking to provide a stronger sense of belonging, a stronger connection to our country, community and place, and a learning opportunity to discover, rediscover, or simply boast about our culture, our history and our heritage. Engaging our community in researching our history, living our present and inspiring for our future is extremely important, as it will promote a sense of pride of place, one of respect, participation, well-being and ownership. This was previously achieved through the process of the naming of the Parranapple Centre, with the council setting up an independent committee to consider all names provided by the community, and I emphasise all names. The committee was larger than the prescribed 2007 recognition of civic service award, requiring the Mayor, General Manager and only 3 selected members of the community to consider the nomination. The committee represented a good cross-section of the community, including First Nation, and it worked. The committee considered all nominations arriving at the name Paranaple, which was then put to the council, with the Alderman having the power to decide whether or not to adopt. Final adopted Paranaple name was well received by the community and respectfully reflects place, people and history. As with this motion and the policy in making, councillors too will have the final say to edit, change, add, accept or reject the proposed policy, the final say to choose, accept or reject nominations for the proposed community committee, the final say to alter, reject or accept the proposed name or names, or even refer the matter back to a workshop. That is indeed why we are elected. However, there is nothing wrong with having more community consultation feeding up to council, especially with the naming of community facilities and open spaces, as in reality it is the communities and they should be offered the opportunity to have a say. Examples of place naming policies already exist with the City of Sydney, Kingston and Victoria, Hume, Ballarat, Mildura, Kangaroo Island, Darebin, just to name a few. I respectfully suggest also that the naming of public spaces, facilities, buildings and other facilities owned and maintained by our city should have a separate policy and should not come under a commemorative seat policy. I put to you that it should be the other way around, place naming policy including the commemorative seat section. The suggested policy could also be based on scale and could be flexible when a committee could be called upon or needed. I put this motion up as an opportunity to have a look at, have a discussion, and the motion says to develop a policy. And again, I suggest that the councillors have the opportunity to alter, change, reject or accept the suggested policy that may be developed by the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Shan, a comment?
Thank you, Mayor. I understand the intent of the motion is to encourage the community to research the history of places of significance as they come up, and that the proposed model is based on the naming of the Paranaple Centre. I further note that the policy is intended to be used only for places of significance. I agree that the existing commemorative seat policy has the flexibility to create such committees to engage public input, but as I'm very much in favour of preserving and celebrating our history, I'm going to vote in favour of this motion, as I believe it puts that extra importance on local history. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment?
Yes.
Councillor Hollister?
Selfishly learned a council workshop, so I fully support it. It is discussed and worked out then. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comment, Councillor Murphy?
Thanks, Mayor. I won't be supporting the motion and for a number of reasons. And I suppose it's difficult for a newer council to understand a bit of the history around this particular subject. In April 2022, this exact topic was brought to council and with respect to how to actually address these particular issues. And it was determined then, after significant debate, which was the best way forward and guidance from the council executive with respect to that. I think that the process that we have currently there at the moment provides council with the necessary flexibility to be able to achieve the outcomes in the best interest of the community. But more importantly, since 2007, technology's changed. So the capacity for members of the community to engage with council and be heard has changed significantly. There's been a number of community consultation processes that have been undertaken most recently where the community has been provided with that opportunity. And they've engaged in that with open arms, and we've got fantastic results from that. I don't think creating another policy when we have one that provides council, and to use Councillor Martin's words, power, which I don't see from that respect. The consensus for the the elected officials of the community, the elected representatives of the community, the 9 councils that sit around the table, the capacity to make these decisions. I think we have that now, and I don't think we need another policy. And we have a policy that was debated extensively in April 2022 around the rarity where it would be actually used. I think it's been used twice in that period of time, so since the naming of the Parramatta Centre. So I think we've got a framework there that we can use, that we can engage with the community if so desired, and that will be a decision of the council of the day, and it doesn't necessarily require the implementation of another policy.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Any other comment? I will just point out, I certainly agree with Councillor Murphy at the moment that we certainly did look at this in April 2022. And there have been times when we've needed to certainly go out to the community and consult with them. We certainly did that process with this previous council and went out to the community to look at the park land to be named. And yes, certainly we got to that point where we had a new council just been elected, dealing with a motion from a previous council. And I think what we did was the right thing to do by this council, to allow a little bit more time, a little bit of time to discuss it, and certainly do the right thing so that we got the name right. I think we got through that process quite well, but normally it's not that, if I might be blunt, messy. So normally it's pretty matter of fact how we go about asking the community to consult with, get some ideas and try to make a decision based on everything we've got in front of us. To get another committee together, it's another committee. That could be a bit hard to do at times when we need to get something put into place as quickly as possible. I certainly think we went a great process to do the Parramatta Centre. I'm really happy with the way that we named that, and I certainly think that we can do that going forward as well. I'm not sure that we need another policy. We could probably just amend the policy that we've got with going forward. We find that it gets a bit clunky, but I think we can see that going forward, and I think at the moment we've got enough things named. We haven't got any at the moment, so I think we'll be fine. That's in my opinion. So what I will do is ask Councillor Martin to close.
Thank you for your comments. I mean, it's a motion that's put up for consideration. It's flexible enough that we're saying that develop a policy. It's flexible enough to have the aldermen, councillors, as we go forward with it, to have a input as to how its final draft would be accepted, if it is accepted at all. I base it again, I refer back to the Parramatta Centre, where an independent body was set up by council, and that was about 2014-15, so it's reasonably recent, and that committee worked in choosing that name. It wasn't the first name from the community consultation, it was about the 8th or 9th name on the list, and those independent community people went through the process of all submissions. Now, the last community consultation we had, there was over 70 names that submitted that the public were not aware of. So I don't think that was a good base to operate from, and that is why I've actually worked upon putting up this motion. It allows for flexibility, and I don't think when we start talking about significant opportunities to name places, etc., should come under the commemorative seat policy. I think we should have a policy that says place naming policy. The commemorative seat policy can come underneath that. I mean, comparing with all due respects the scale of a commemorative seat, taking away the emotion, to the naming of the Parramatta Centre, I think that a place naming policy should be the immediate one we address and people can refer to and scale up or scale down. Commemorative seat policy to have the ability to name the Parramatta Centre underneath it, I think it's backwards in regards to that. As I said, it can be based on scale, can be flexible within when a committee may be called upon to help name a place of significance. And I just put it to the committee of councillors to decide either way. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Martin. So if I might ask, all those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say nay.
Nay.
No. So if I can have a show of hands, please. So the ayes, councillor Vilchinsky, councillor Martin, councillor Hollister, councillor Varney, councillor Moore, councillor Shan, against, councillor Murphy, councillor Jarman. Thank you. So moved and carried. So item 4 is the Planning Authority matters we'll move into. I'll now announce that council intends to act as a planning authority under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 for the consideration of agendas items 4.1 through to 4.7. Item 4.1 is AM 2022.03 and PA 2022.0100, rezoning the agricultural zone to the rural living zone to part of 130 Tupper Road and 7 lot subdivision. If I can have a move of the recommendation, please.
So moved.
Thank you, councillor Viney. And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, councillor Moore. Councillor Viney.
Yeah, it was nice to get in first on one that was going to be a little bit more straightforward than some of these other ones tonight. So I think it's fully spelled out in the report from the planning officers, and I will note there's no objections on this one.
Thank you, councillor Moore.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Any further comment? No? Councillor Viney, you may close the debate.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. Item 4.2, AM 2022-02 and 2022-0092. Thank you, councillor Murphy. I must write that down something. 105 Trent Street and 88 and 90 to 102 Stony Rise Road, Stony Rise. Remove and amend general retail and hire, food services, business and professional services, bulky goods, style and service industry. If I may have a mover of recommendation.
So moved.
Councillor Sheen, and second was Councillor Hollister. Thank you. Councillor Sheen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to propose an alternative motion that I believe might be up on the screen at the moment. I'll just quickly talk to that. Let's assume it's on its way.
Just bear with us. We need music. That's a good job. Do you have any?
On my screen it's a bit long, but do you want me to email that somewhere?
That's the one. I'll just answer this.
So through you, Mayor, that's the alternative motion that councillor Shannon advised to the officer.
Great. But without, are my amendments in red? Or not? No. All right. So I'll just briefly talk to my alternative motion. The alternative motion that I presented aligns with the planner's recommendation and is generally consistent with the report in the agenda. However, it also includes some further minor changes. These changes address concern expressed by the developer relating to the unintended consequences on the existing homemaker site and provide some further clarity in regard to site delivery times. I've received advice from the General Manager that the changes are technically sound and have been drafted correctly. This is a brand new $40 million neighbourhood shopping centre designed to the latest industry standards to serve our growing city. With fellow councillors, I attended a site visit organised by the Mayor last year to the applicant's shopping centre in Hobart Village. I was very impressed with its presentation and layout. We welcome the investment and confidence it shows in our growing economy as Devonport delivers on Goal 3 of the Living City Master Plan to be the preeminent business, service and retail centre for North West Tasmania. The proposed zoning also continues to ensure we are recognising and protecting the importance of our CBD, especially retail. I commend the previous council and planners for doing the heavy lifting on this project and look forward to construction commencement. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hodgson.
Believe it or not, I can't actually read that, but that's been okay by the planners and the general manager, so I'll go along with it.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Dorchinsky, thank you.
Yeah, I'd further like to support the motion that Councillor Sheen has put forward, noting that the traffic movement is very much a much work in progress, but it supports the aims of the Devonport strategic plan to make Devonport a commercial hub of the North West Coast. As a former business owner in the mall, I found the big box development drew customers from outside our area and visiting CBD as well. Also, planning overlay supporting the original purpose on protecting the CBD area. This development is about securing the continued growth of Devonport with jobs during development and ongoing employment. It complements Devonport's vision for our city with strengthening our economy and making the city the place to live, invest, work, shop and visit. So that's my support with that.
Thank you, Councillor Dorchinsky. Any further comment? I certainly agree with what Councillor Sheen's bringing up to help and assist with this major development that's been proposed here. And we certainly have done extensive work on this since this came out to councillors only on Wednesday night, I might add. And thank you for everybody's hard work and all the things that you've done over just a very short space of time. It is unusual to have 11 DAs all at once thrown at you, so you've done a great job. And we certainly have done this with thorough research and decision making is made for the best of, and to the best of the ability of ours through the staff so that we can help our developers. This is going to be a wonderful development and I hope that we can get the support of the rest of the councillors.
Question, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Hollister.
Is it possible, when it's been discussed with the staff and the general manager beforehand, that we could get a copy of these motions before they actually come to the council?
The amendment, you mean? Or
Yeah.
So noted. We can certainly talk to the general manager organising it. Thank you. And so if I might ask Councillor Sheen to close.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, look, I just would strongly support the comments of fellow councillors. It just shows such a sign of confidence in our local economy and all the hard work that went into the Living City Master Plan. This is the dividend from all those thousands of community hours. So look forward to it starting and consider the matter closed. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Against? So carried. Thank you very much. Item 4.3, PA 20.
Sorry to interrupt, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thank you very much for that. It's a big step for us and a big step for Devonport. Looking forward to getting the Planning Commission now, but thanks for the unanimous support.
Thank you, Mr. Stanton. Appreciate it. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Item 4.3, PA 2022, 0.0147. If I can have a reading of the recommendation, please.
So moved. Sorry, so moved.
Second.
Councillor Sheen and second, Mr. Councillor Martin. Thank you. Councillor Sheen.
Thank you, Mayor. The details on the report, I note that the development is a continuation of the residential area around the Wood Rising precinct and provide much needed housing.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Murphy can stay out of the room. Councillor Martin, thank you.
Mayor, concur with Councillor Sheen and also note the stormwater concerns of the neighbour has been addressed for the councillors, for the officers who work there. Nothing else to add, thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? All done. Thank you. Councillor Sheen, if you could close the debate, please. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 4.4, Councillor Murphy can return now. Item 4.4, thank you Councillor Murphy for returning to the room at the right time. PA 2022-0200, recycling and waste disposal. If I could have a mover of the motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Councillor Sheen, second Councillor Murphy. Councillor Sheen.
Thank you, Mayor. In relation to the new recycling and collection facility, I'd like to note the concerns from one local family who lives 60 metres from the proposed site in relation to noise and additional traffic. Having reviewed the planner's report, however, and noting the zoning of the site as light industrial, I think this development should be approved with the conditions noted by the planners. With your permission, I'd like to quickly note that this development is near an area identified in Appendix B of Council's residential growth strategy as a potential rural living zone, which is of course going to assist with population growth and growing our rate base. I'd urge Council to continue to engage with the state government to promote land release for delivery of increased housing. And I'd also note that when the zoning matches our growth strategy, it will just give us as councillors more to work with when dealing with similar applications. Finally, I welcome the investment by Veolia and commend them for expanding this really important industry on the coast. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sheen. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. This is one of the unfortunate parts of being acting as an independent planning authority. I don't necessarily agree with the actual site location from a subjective perspective. I agree with necessary infrastructure and capacity for recycling is needed, there's no doubt about that. But I think this highlights one of the things that we have with respect to the Devonport municipality and our municipal boundaries. It's probably, again, a good argument for local government reform, where we currently sit with the geographical size that we have, whether there is potentially greater scope for location of these types of facilities or services outside of the Devonport municipal boundary, which I think there is, taking into consideration the increased growth that the Devonport municipality has seen over the last few years. I think there are better locations, but unfortunately, under the planning scheme, it is permitted. And whilst I do sympathise with the representatives who obviously may believe that they potentially will be impacted, obviously that will take on, council will take on that responsibility to ensure that their amenity is not diminished in the future. But as I said, it is a difficult part of acting in this capacity when we have to release things objectively and realistically the scheme permits this type of activity in that location. So therefore, realistically, we don't have any other opportunity or any other option but to support it moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Any further comment? Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. My main issue with this this development, potential future developments in this area, is going to be in relation to the traffic, the impact of traffic along Mersey Main Road. Also noting that it's not the individual development that's responsible for upgrading the roads and in particular the intersections. And with this one, it's that intersection that I've got an issue with, that being Mersey Main Road and Kelsey Tier Road. I made a note of the traffic impact assessment, and they're interesting because they only really show numbers of cars and trucks, which is not a lot to see on a piece of paper. So if you can give me a little bit of creative license here, if you're in a truck and you're on Kelsey Tier Road and you're turning back onto Mersey Main Road and you want to make a right-hand turn at the moment, so you look to the left and you've got all the traffic, and let's say it's not a school day, so there's not school traffic, but you do have businesses up that way towards town. You've got the Maidstone Park, the new gymnasium. Okay, so some cars coming, turn to the right. Again, a busy road, Mersey Main Road. You've got the supermarket development there, you've got the pet store, you've got the Big Apple, and there's a lot of cars coming back and forwards. You see a gap, you turn back to the right. Because there's a gap, another car's turned out through the gap. So as a truck driver, at the moment, you've got limited pockets where you're able to negotiate that turn safely. If there's increased traffic, that's only going to get harder. And there's someone who does have a medium rigid licence, I'm not sure if anyone else on the table does. Part of the training for that is that to be a successful truck driver, you have to be a bit of an a-hole, because if you don't drive aggressively at times, then you'll just be sitting in an intersection forever. So my concern is that if this intersection and this road isn't looked at, not necessarily at this development, but for future developments, and as we know, off Kelsey Tier Road, opposite Loon Lane, there's more space there for future light industrial developments. This road is going to get worse. Interestingly, with the meeting and later on, I'm preempting, we've got our road network strategy, and this intersection, or this patch of road, was mentioned with potential network conflict. So it's on council's radar, and I appreciate that, and there's a strategy for it. My issue being that if we don't put a bit more pressure on the state government, state growth, to look at this road and these intersections before these developments are in place, and we're waiting for an accident to happen, then we're very much a reactive council and not a proactive one. And for those reasons, I won't be supporting.
Thank you, Councillor Minor. Councillor Moore?
Yeah, I'd like to echo the considerations of Councillor Sheehan and Councillor Murphy. I do take into consideration the representation about the concerning noise levels that residents may be able to hear. But as said by the other two councillors, I do believe that it does come under the planning authority and for permitted use.
Thank you. Councillor Lynch.
Yes, I agree with both Murphy and Councillor Murphy and Sheehan and Moore. It is a part of our job to go by our guidelines. We also have our guidelines of living lightly on our land, so that's a part of recycling, and it's a part that we've now taken on as a centre for the coast. So we're actually being a point of interest to be a recycling area, which is a plus. So I will be going for the application.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Holliston.
This facility is actually allowed to go in this zone. I know we've got road problems, we're going to have noise problems that council and environment departments are going to have to deal with. But as of right, I think this proposal is allowed to go in this zone. So I don't really want to go to the commission and spend a lot of money arguing about it, because I don't believe we can actually say no to it.
Thank you, Councillor Hollister. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with all previous speakers, including Councillor Viney, in regards to work being needed at that intersection. It has done for years, and with increase of traffic in the future, we certainly need to look at that as a priority and split with state government. The development certainly meets the requirements for the zoning. And I note that there's been representation around noise, especially around reversing loopers on trucks, etc. But because it meets the requirements for the zoning, council will only be putting itself into a financial risk in regards to possibly having the proponent appeal against any reduction, which I would think that the proponent would be successful, and it would cost council and ratepayers unnecessary funds. So unfortunately, whilst I sympathise with the people living close by, unfortunately, this development meets all the requirements for zoning, so I'll be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. I certainly understand the angst of the people that live close by. I certainly have been speaking to them and continuing to understand what their points of view are. Again, we are under this planning authority. It's a very hard decision can be made at times when we're doing this, but the recycling and waste disposal is quite important to the community, and I certainly hope that it will mitigate costs. If this was developed and put into Launceston, which is one of the places that they did look, it would have cost our ratepayers a lot more money going forward. So it's certainly something that I do approve of for it being in that area for those reasons. We certainly are aware of the traffic situation. What a shame that we're such a successful region and we have so many people that want to develop and put businesses here that we have a traffic problem. So the biggest thing we have to do now is certainly take all this very seriously and speak to the state government as soon as possible about certain areas. It's not just Mersey Main Road, but it's certainly one of the biggest traffic areas and growth areas that we've got. And we talk about traffic, when we were talking about Stony Rise, we can talk about traffic with most of these developments going ahead. So we're certainly aware of that. And all I can say to people out there is please try and turn left wherever you're going, if you can. It's the greatest thing you can do. And because the town of roundabouts, well, there's a reason for that too. It keeps us smoothly moving forward. So that's how it is. Thank you. So if I could have all those in favour. Oh, sorry, sorry, Councillor Sheen, please. I apologise.
Look, I think that was a really constructive discussion of all the issues. I think we'll consider that closed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Just me.
Councillor Viney. We will have a show of hands for sure. All those in favour? Councillor Murphy, Councillor Winchinsky, Councillor Martin, Councillor Hollister, Councillor Moore, Councillor Sheen, Councillor Jarman. Against?
Just me.
Councillor Viney. Thank you. So carried. We move on to item 4.5. Yes, sorry. Please bear with me for a moment. I will find it. 125. 4.5 is on lines. We just have a few pages here, so please bear with me. 4.5, thank you. 2022.0035, 10 and 11 Formby Road, Devonport, vehicle fuel, sales and service and food services. Can I have a mover of either option 1 or 2?
Move option 1.
Councillor Viney is going option 1. Did you say so?
Option 1, yes.
Option 1. So if I can have a seconder for option 1.
Hang on, I'm just checking which was which.
One's to approve.
Option 1 is to refuse the
Oh, right,
application.
yeah.
Councillor Martin, did you second that?
Yes.
To refuse? Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. I know I've only been a councillor for 5 minutes, but this was the first planning approval that's come up. The language used in the recommendation by the officers was not concrete one way or the other. And I know that the work that they put in to bring it to council means that if the planning officers aren't sure that this is the right thing to do, then there's probably some issues with it. And looking at the 2 clauses for rejecting, the first one being to do with traffic, and I support that that's going to be an issue on that intersection. I know I've just talked a fair bit at length about traffic, but again, like this is a busy patch of road from Elizabeth Street. There's cars trying to negotiate a right-hand turn to exit the city, and this size development on that intersection would make that that turn and that traffic certainly less safe. I think I read somewhere in the proposal that it mentioned that this intersection is excellent. I can only imagine that that person who wrote and chose that word has not actually tried to make a right-hand turn out of that intersection. So completely agree with the council planning's recommendations that the road network would be negatively impacted, and also agree with clause 2 in that a car wash in this location where it's been cited on the plans, which is basically sharing a fence with the neighbouring property, even with the clauses of when that car wash would be in operation, I don't think you can agree that that wouldn't negatively impact that person's right to be able to sit in their house and not hear a car wash going off over the back fence. So for both of those reasons outlined in the recommendations here, I'm supporting option 1 to not support the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Viney. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Viney on both those issues in regards to negative impact to the amenity of surrounding residential premises. I also note that it says that we're going to be looking at 80 vehicles per hour against a criteria of 100 per day. So that's a huge increase. And even coming in tonight along Formby Road, there was 5 cars on Elizabeth Street, all looking to turn right against the tide. Now, if we're having another 80 vehicles per hour coming out in that area, even if it's onto Formby Road, turning left, those people stuck on Elizabeth Street will be stuck for a very long time. So I think that for those 2 reasons, I won't be supporting the development. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Any further comment on option 1? Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't be supporting option 1. I think option 2 is far better. The reasons being that there's a number of things. One is we need to ensure as a community and as a council that we let developers and private developers know that the door's open. With respect to the work that's being done from our planners around option 2, which at this point in time we won't be discussing, I think there are a number of things that we need to accept change. And sometimes change is a positive thing. I agree, coming out of Elizabeth Street and turning right is not necessarily the easiest thing to do at different points of the day or really at any point of the day. But there's an easy solution. Don't turn right. It's not that much further to go up Ford Street, turn left into Lyons Avenue, go down Lyons Avenue, turn left onto Mersey Main Road, and then you're in traffic lights. It's far quicker and far safer. And you turn left. And it ain't that much further. At the time that you sit at Elizabeth Street trying to turn right, you're on the highway. So I think as a council, if we need to look at our road network through our road network strategy, the potential to address that particular issue, if that is going to be the single biggest thing that's going to prohibit development in this city, I don't see it being worthy of rejecting this particular proposal. The demand's obviously there. We've got to accept that we're growing. We're going to have increased traffic. As we just previously discussed and the Mayor raised in the last, if having traffic management issues is a problem, well, that's not a bad problem to have because it's demonstrating growth. I think the conditions to be black and white, as with option 1, I won't support. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Any further comment for Councillor Hollister? And sorry, if I may just thank you, Councillor Ennis. I've just noted your presence. Thank you, Councillor Hollister.
Yes, so I'm not supporting the motion either. It's quite easy to turn to your right actually. You've only got to wait for the lights to change down by the bridge and you can get around quite reasonably. Question to the General Manager. Is it possible to put lights on this intersection in the future?
Through you, Mayor, if council was inclined to want to upgrade the intersection, I think there'd be a number of options that would need to investigate before saying what would be the preferred way of improving safety. So yes, it could could be that, but it could be other things also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollister. Any further comment on option 1? Councillor Gutierrez. Councillor Shane, thank you.
Yes, I won't be supporting option 1 because I think we need the development, but there's definitely got to be some road analysis done to change. Because we've already got the trouble on Elizabeth Street, turning left, the double lanes, people trying to overtake the ones on the right, the right-hand side, and then someone 3 cars in front decides they want to turn left. So, I mean, and then crossing that intersection is a bit of an issue. So, to go up onto bridge. So, I think we should have the development, but we should look at the road structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shane.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't be supporting option 1. I was disappointed that the planner's request to relocate the car wash to another part of the site further away from residential property was not taken on board by the applicant. But in relation to the traffic and safety issues noted in the representations, I would hope, along with my fellow councillors, that if traffic does become an issue on Elizabeth Street, that perhaps some safety measures could be looked at by council in the Forward Works program. Just very quickly, I'd like to note the similarities between this one and the previous development, where you've got that tension between families living in homes that border commercial or light industrial precincts. It's sort of a miserable spot to be at the moment as we grow as a city and we're desperate for this development space. And you know, it's, as you say, it's a great problem to have. But I think on balance, while this one was really line ball, I believe that it is absolutely within the permitted usage. And as the economy slows, particularly towards the later part of this year, we need to be welcoming new investment with open arms, not turning it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shane. Any further comment on option 1? Councillor Bonnie to close for option 1.
Thank you, Matt. I got a bit lost when I was driving with Councillor Murphy there before, because I'm pretty sure where we ended up there was no traffic lights, and the intersection he was talking about is still crossing 2 lanes of traffic without traffic lights, Lyons Avenue and Mersey Main Road. Anyway, we'll get back to that one. I don't think it fits, again, referencing our road network strategy, to send vehicles in a way that's going to make it harder to get out. If you can't turn right at Elizabeth Street, if we make that a left-hand turn only, because of this development, so not as a part of it, but if we go, well, this is obviously not right now, this intersection needs improving, let's make it left-hand turn only. The next street that you can turn right on, onto Thornby Road, is Steel Street, a significant distance into the city. So we're either sending cars that way, or alternatively, you could go Middle Road, so Forbes Street, Middle Road, but as discussed, we're trying to avoid cars in that pocket as well, or people go alternate routes that they don't want to take, and I don't think that's necessarily the best thing. I think that it's a detriment to our city, so that's why I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. So we need to have voting on that, on option 1. So all those in favour? And against? So we're going to have a show of hands, please, just for, thank you. So those for aye, Councillor Martin and Councillor Viney, and against, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Winchitsky, Councillor Holster, Councillor Moore, Councillor Champ and Councillor Jarman. So that has not gone through, it is lost. So we now need a mover, if we may, for option 2. Councillor Murphy and Councillor Sheen seconded. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll raise a number of other points. But I think we need to have a look at the conditions that the planners have attached to this recommendation. Then will be left up to the developer as to what they do from a development sense. I understand what Councillor Sheen is saying with respect to the developer not wanting to move the car wash aspect of the development, but I think the conditions potentially may prohibit that from happening altogether from a financial perspective, especially around the operating hours. When you look at car washes throughout Devonport, that back onto residential areas, Don Road's a prime example. We've got another one that operates directly opposite residential houses on Mersey Main Road, or is it Stony Rise Road? And you've got the one there in William Street, along with a fast food outlet right next door to some residential homes. So again, it's just a sign of the fact that there is some confidence in the community in our city, and that people want to develop in our city. So I think realistically, it will be up to the developer as to whether they move forward with that aspect of the development with the conditions, which I think are fairly arduous, if you like, but that'll be a decision for them to make from an economic standpoint. So full credit to the planners and planning team with respect to providing an option for us to make a decision on tonight, and I think it's a sound one, option 2. Therefore, I hope my fellow councillors support that.
Thank you. Councillor Sheen.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Any further comment on option 2? Councillor Moore.
Yeah, I would agree. This decision's been a more difficult one. The intersection, as everyone's already said, is quite horrible. I sat down there and watched, and it was horrible to turn right out of Elizabeth Street. In saying that, I would be supporting this option because I believe that this is the kind of investment we want in Devonport going forward. I also take note that it probably it will minimally increase the amount of traffic on Formby Road. The exits and the entrances will obviously increase dramatically, but there will be, most people will be continuing on their way that they're already going. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment on option 2? I would just say, again, this wasn't done lightly, and the staff have done a marvellous job of this. Again, tried to speak to the developer to see if there's some sway in their decision making as well, and I appreciate that. We're certainly aware that traffic is increasing in all these areas. People have to be aware we're living in a region, not just Devonport, but a region that is growing. We want more jobs. We want our houses to be worth more. We want to be successful and prosper, but then we've got to say no as soon as it's in our backyard or something that causes us a little bit of a, oh, now I'm going to have to go a different way. Gun Street's a fantastic situation that we did without any hoo-ha. We created an alternative for people not having to come down William Street, and Gun Street's been very successful. Now, of course, the people that live in Gun Street probably aren't that excited about that situation, but at the end of the day, we now have a couple of more options for people who think only of going straight to where they want to go. Now they're finding that there are different routes that they need to take to get to places faster and more efficiently. That's what we have to do as a council, and that's what our staff do very, very well. We are certainly aware that whatever we say yes to is only going to cause more traffic, more chaos in a way, and more jobs and more prosperity. So all we're going to do is we need to mitigate that by doing the job that we are very good at doing. So I'm certainly supporting option 2, and bring it on. If people want to come and develop here, we're open for business. So if I have no further comments, Councillor Vine.
I did try to jump in before you. So
I do apologise.
that's no problem. Just in terms of, I agree with everything you're saying, that we want to welcome development. I do find it interesting that what we're talking about is a service station, where there's another one 200 metres down the road, and another one was 200 metres down the road from that, and that one closed. So, you know, let's keep a lid on the excitement of the service station. Thank you.
Any kind of development I'm excited about. Thank you, Councillor Viney. Councillor Murphy. Oh, sorry, Councillor Martin. I do apologise.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I agree that the board is open for business. We have got some marvellous developments going on and should continue on. It should be always what's next, but not at any cost. We're talking about 80 vehicles per hour against the criteria of 100 per day. Coming out of the service station onto Formby Road, you'll be going past Elizabeth Street. So that's an extra 80 vehicles coming out of the service station, passing Elizabeth Street, that's turning left. So anybody that's on Elizabeth Street will be sitting there for a very long time to try and get out, whether it be turn left or turn right. So I just make mention that, you know, development's great, jobs are great. We're doing a great work in regards to getting around our city with our vehicles, etc. But again, you know, just a word of caution, these conditions and the planning authority, etc., are put there for a reason and should be noted well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy to close.
Consider closed, ma'am.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Yeah.
So we'll have a show of hands, please. All those in favour? Councillor Murphy, Councillor Ennis, Councillor Luchitsky, Councillor Hollister, Councillor Moore, Councillor Sheen, Councillor Jarman, and against Councillor Martin and Councillor Viney. So noted, item is therefore successful and moved. We are moving on to item 4.6, which is PA 2022-0.0132, 34 White Street, East Devonport, residential. If I can have a movement recommendation, Pauline.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. A seconder?
Seconded.
Councillor Foster. Thank you. Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor. The appropriate solutions have been met and the appropriate conditions have applied. Additionally, representations concerns have been addressed, including the suggestion that vegetation be planted on the northern boundary of the access strip. So I'll be supporting the development. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hollister?
Yes, this is infill, and I think it's very good to get some of these infill sites in East Devonport filled, so hopefully this will be a start of a lot more.
Thank you. Any further comment?
Yes.
Councillor Sheen?
Thank you, Mayor. I know the plan suggests that vegetation be planted on the northbound strip, as Councillor Martin's just noted, and I'd urge the applicant to carry this out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment now? Councillor Martin, Flores?
I consider the matter closed. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 4.7 is 2022-04 and 2022-0121, 246 Brook Street, East Devonport. If I can remove the recommendation, please. Thank you. Councillor Murphy for leaving the room.
So moved.
Councillor Moore?
Second.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy. Councillor Moore?
Yeah,
Viney. Councillor Moore?
thank you. Yes, I note that this rezoning, a note from the agenda talks about the fact that the agricultural assessment is at the site is at the moment not appropriate for meaningful agricultural operation. And so then I would definitely support this rezoning for more houses.
Thank you. Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor.
Viney.
Yeah, fine. I agree with Councillor Warren on her points, and I think it's an exciting development. Was it 39 lot subdivision, East Devonport? So, right.
Thank you. Further comments?
Yes, just quickly, Mayor.
Councillor Hollister and the others.
Yes, thank you. I think this is a good subdivision. I do question about the cul-de-sac going down from Drew Street. Access from emergency service and stuff would be able to go into Brook Street and up onto Drew Street. And there's also another block alongside this one which probably needs to be cut up again before too long. This is our shortage of housing blocks.
Are you asking a question, Councillor Hollister?
No, I'm supporting the thing, just querying a couple of things. Need these developments, and I fully support it.
Thank you. Councillor Wilczynski?
Yeah, I think it's a really good development, looks good, and the use of land. And I like the walkway, but I do understand what you mean by that cul-de-sac at the bottom if you need some emergency work. But I thought it was a great idea to come off Upper Drew Street, so it's a mixed bag there, but I hadn't thought about it till Peter brought up the fact that it's just one way in and one way out.
Through in there, I can clarify there was some major infrastructure that came in there which made it difficult to extend that road through. Alex might be able to expand on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mountain.
Through to Madam Mayor, happy to elaborate. So there's a Tas gas pipeline corridor through there, so it's certainly made it quite restrictive for a future sort of road what they need, I guess, widths and whatnot. So that's why they sort of did a redesign and access off up Drew Street.
It's good access. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer.
Councillor Sheehan?
Thanks, Mayor. Minor point, just planning condition 5. Notice that there might be trees in the development. Great if we could start seeing developers start introducing some native species. That's it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any further comment? No. Councillor Moore to close.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. Councillor Murphy can return to the room, if that's possible, while we move on to room reports now, sorry, item 5. 5.1 Road Network Strategy 2023 through to 2028. The recommendation is there. If I can have a verb, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Sheehan. A second.
Second.
Councillor Moore. Thank you, Councillor Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor. I strongly endorse its release to public comment. I'd like to note in particular 2 items under the heading 5.4 network conflicts. 5.4.4, I completely agree that a review may be required regarding expectations for on-street parking in 4-ways. There are now 3 gyms, great, in 4-ways, very close to each other, but it is creating a lot of competition for parking spots, and the retailers along that strip that previously benefited from people being able to pop in quickly and shop for 5 minutes and take off are really feeling it. So I'm hopeful the strategy will look at that issue. And secondly, having a few young bike riders in the family. 5.4.5, I completely agree to utilising Parker Street as the primary east-west route for bikes and Nixon and Forbes as the best fringe routes. It's really important as we move forward as a city that we encourage people using different methods of transport. This is just such a weak link in the way people get around on bikes at the moment, and a huge part of our community wellbeing strategy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sheehan. Any further comment on 5.1? Councillor Harris.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been pushing for north, south, east, west link cycling pathways because we want to make it family friendly. We want to make it suitable for people to get around our city. I've said before, the routes around the outside are pretty good. It's just, you've got to make it easy for our people who live here to get backwards and forwards in a safe manner. So I'm looking forward to that happening.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Any further comment? Councillor Sheehan.
Consider it close. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 5.2. Now, the sponsorship for Squash Tasmania, we need an option 1 or option 2 pointed out for a mover.
I'll move option 2.
Thanks, Councillor Moore for option 2 and Councillor Sheehan. Second.
Second. Option 2.
Councillor Moore, your comments, please.
Sure. The Devonport Squash Open is a great opportunity for participation and for high calibre squash here in Devonport, as we saw at the workshop. But I do believe that council should not be the sole provider for funding for an organisation like this. We are already, I believe, generous in the $12,000 per annum that we are giving this open. And I think that with the amount of community and sporting organisations that would like our funding, I wouldn't like to support an increase at the detriment of another organisation that might also need it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this might be a good opportunity for the Squash Club to take the opportunity to grow through sponsorship as other local sporting groups do very successfully. I note there were 80 non-local competitors at the recent competition, and that's possibly not enough to justify the full amount requested of $20,000. Though I fully acknowledge that you get visitors and whatnot coming in as well. Participation rates for squash in the 80s were in the millions. And then I note there was a bit of a slump in 2016, it was around 100,000, but they're coming back. So I think that's wonderful, that interest in the sport is growing again. But yeah, certainly as Councillor Moore has stated, there's a lot of pressure on the community purse to go a long way. And I really think they need to be encouraged in what they're doing, but also look at sponsorship to meet that balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Holston.
Just looking at the Devonport City's sponsorship, they're asking for 24,000. Their prize money is 32,000. I don't see any figure there for entry fees or anything like that. And maybe they need to cut their prize money down a bit. Nothing further away.
Thank you, Councillor Holston. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just surprised about this one. I thought option one I've got to keep it anyway. I don't necessarily think option two is going to provide the squash club with necessary support to be able to progress this. This does feature as part of the national round of squash in the country, so it's open to professionals. So we're talking about professional squash players coming from all around the world, potentially, mainly Southeast Asia. And it's the reason why the prize money is what it is. It's the standard with respect to the other opens that are held in Bega and in South Australia. So the $10,000 is what makes it worthwhile from a prize purse perspective. The numbers that were provided with respect to visitation, etc., did stack up, but I note that there are a lot more conditions prospectively in option one than what there are in option two. All we're still committing $12,000, but there's an annual review. End of story. Whereas the other option, yes, we committed a little bit more money first year, but that is to provide the squash club to, this is a Tasmanian event, part of the Australian series, so it is fairly unique. That funding at that particular level provides the club the capacity over a number of years to develop those sponsorship partnerships to ensure that the event grows and continues to grow and continues to come to Devonport. We're fairly lucky that we have good facilities, as was advocated by the Tasmanian peak body with respect to what we actually have here in Devonport. So I think by committing the $12,000 in option two, is seen as tokenism in my view and not an investment in potentially securing an event over a longer period of time. So I won't be supporting option two.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. I think maybe COVID came at an opportune time for the squash club, and it allowed them to sort of bank a bit of money and have some money. And I don't know whether it was a planned involvement in the Australian tour, but nevertheless they got involved in the Australian tour on the back of having some money that was sort of banked away, luckily. I think that I'm not sure whether the planning and the process is there, and I think there's a fair reliance on council to be the major sponsor, for example. So I think option two is where I'd like to be going at this stage.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got to admit I battled with this, and I can see both sides of the fence. However, I think that when we've come up with an option one, which is stage funding, reducing funding, which encourages the squash organisation to become self-sufficient, gives them an opportunity to source further sponsorship. It puts them on the map in regards to the Australian cycle of squash, and it puts Devonport in a good position because we're looking to invest not only in infrastructure, as in living city, to put us on a map, but we're looking to invest in events, and we should be looking to invest in events. And I think this is a good opportunity of getting out there, being seen nationally, and showing people we've got our doors open. But to do that, we've got to support our local clubs as much as what we can, because costs are going up all the time, and competitor events are also going up all the time and offering more money. So if we're going to be in it, we need to be in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comment? Yeah, I must admit I've been wanting to listen to debate tonight on this one. I'm very torn. Yes, we've got to make sure that we do everything we can support essentially something that's in its infancy. And so I certainly looked very seriously at option 1. But then option 2 makes sense on paper. I tend to be a little bit more leaning towards option 1, I must admit myself. But we'll see how we go with the voting on this option 2 and go from there. So I'll ask Councillor Moore to close for option 2. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, councillors. I definitely appreciate the different sides of this argument, and it's definitely not because I support Squash Tasmania. I do love the idea of having a competition here, but I just can't support the extra increase for something that might get 150, 160 participants when there's so many other community organisations that could also do with the money.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. So I will ask for voting on this. So all those in favour, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Sorry.
What are we voting for?
Option 2. Option 2.
Aye. Aye.
Oh dear. And option and against?
No.
No. Okay. Let's get a show of hands, please. So option 2, those for, please show of hands. Councillor Ennis, Councillor Buczynski, Councillor Viney, Councillor Moore, Councillor Sheen, and against Councillor Murphy, Councillor Martin, Councillor Holster, Councillor Jones. So carried. Option 2. Thank you. So item 5.3, request replacement of commemorative seat Dorothea and John Nedlund. There are 2 options again. Full of options tonight, people. Option 1 or option 2.
So moved, option 1.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Second.
And Councillor Sheen has seconded that. Councillor Murphy for option
It's
1.
all, yeah, option 1, it's all outlined in the report there, Mayor, for everyone to see.
Thank you. Councillor Sheen.
Yes, look, I think it's very important to acknowledge the work of those people in the community, and I also note that there was minimal cost to the council, so fully support option 1.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. Just that I hadn't heard of the Medley family or Dorothea or John before this, and I think it's excellent that the council promote these sorts of initiatives, and hopefully we can see more of these come across the table in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. I might be jumping the gun here, but the way we actually do these is, have we given any thought to, I'm supporting it, but support to what the seats look like and how it works, because these little plaques that they put on, I think there might be a better way, and I've seen a few other ways of doing it, and it'd be probably more appropriate. I'm happy to share with that later on.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Murphy to close on option 1.
Consider closed, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 5.4, the tender report contract for Tarleton Street renewal. Can I have a move of the recommendation, please?
So moved.
Councillor Martin?
Second.
Second, Councillor Viney. Thank you. Councillor Martin?
Thank you. It's all in the report, Mayor, and it's all specified tender. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Viney?
Yeah, I concur with Councillor Martin. I think we got the best deal here with Shaw.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Hollister.
Just interesting with tenders, that one's $1 million more than the one we're going for. Obviously, they didn't need to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? No. Councillor Martin, close, please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. Item 5.5, we're up to Local Government Association of Tasmania. Oh, should I leave the room for this? I think I should declare an interest in this. Sorry, that's kind of come up on me very quickly. Do we want Councillor Shane to chair this part of the meeting? Councillor Shane, would you like to come up and chair this meeting so I can leave the room so you can decide whether I or not I should be nominated for this? So I'll put this on here for you if you like. I will leave the room. Hello, everybody. All right, item 5, which is, the recommendation is that council nominate Mayor Alison John for the Local Government Association of Tasmania General Management Committee. Do I move it, please?
Second.
Who is the mover?
Councillor Rose.
Yes, and second was Councillor Murphy.
Thank you. I think considering Mayor's interest in this, I think she would be best placed and would do a great job for us.
Excellent, thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, look, good luck. It's a democratic process, so I wish the Mayor the best of luck. So it'll give us a bit of an inside look at what's happening around the table and potentially the opportunity to influence a little bit more, because it is going to be a critical period of time.
Excellent, thank you, Councillor Murphy. Any further comments? No. All right, Councillor Ernst to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? You don't need to vote. All right, motion carried. Thank you. You're nothing off with the face, please. Oh, did I? Thank you very much. I do apologise for that. Obviously, we've had so much to talk about. This wasn't even a consideration for me, so thank you. Thank you, Councillor Shane. Well done. Very welcome. So I'm moving on to item 5. Item 6 is information. So I'm trying to use, thank you. Item 6.1, there's nothing, you've got to leave the room for that joke. Okay, so I think if I can have a move of the recommendation,
So
please. Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Second.
Seconder. Councillor Ennis, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, Mayor, you've kicked off the year being extremely busy.
Great.
Hopefully the liver's holding up okay.
Oh. Yes, it is, thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. Yes, I've got a question now. I'd just like to ask, how are things progressing with the East Devonport Maritime Precinct? What's going on there? Because in my opinion, we're in a perfect position, and it would be fantastic for our city if we could get that.
Yes, I'm happy to comment. We met with the acting general manager, Jeffrey Griffith, and Terry Travis is wonderful. We had promised him that once the election was over that we were very happy to meet with him, and so we did that at the earliest possible convenience, and it was certainly imminent. Mr. Travis is now going to be taking some leave, so it was important to see him as soon as we could, and we encouraged him to go ahead and put in a submission to the federal government, because the submissions were due the end of this month. So we were encouraging of that, to the point where I actually writing a letter of support to say that we certainly believe in the development. And hopefully now he's successfully, I think, got the submission in today. So we will see more information coming through and an update later on for all councillors and the public. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Hollister.
Your meeting with Senator Jackie Lambie, was that to do with anything?
No, it's very pleasant. Senator Lambie actually instigated that, and I saw at the Chamber of Commerce drinks at Christmas time. I think she's just catching up with all the mayors in the area. I'm not sure if she's been every mayor, so it was very nice. I think it was good just to see what she was up to and what she was aiming to do. She's certainly helping her counterpart, Tammy Tyrrell, as well. And they're working on aged care, she's still working on, she's very much into the Defence Force situation as well. So she updated me on a couple of those things. Anything local that she was worried about. And I suppose it was just a way of networking and making contact with her as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor. Just in regards to the Devonport Maritime precinct,
yes.
I've actually had the opportunity to meet with Terry as well.
Oh, brilliant.
Have the other councillors been informed of, or as Terry, would we be better to invite Terry along to a workshop to present
yes.
To council?
Unfortunately, there wasn't enough time.
I understand that, but
yes.
I mean, moving forward to inform our councils, because it's a great project, and we can be informed with Terry. I think he'd welcome the opportunity. Thank you.
He's going to be away for a little while.
Yes.
I'm not sure how long. I've got no idea his process. He's back. I'm sure we'll touch base. Thank you. Any further comment? I will ask Councillor Murphy to close.
Consider it closed, man.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Against? So carried. Thank you. Item 6.2 is the General Manager's Report. If I can have a move of the recommendation, please.
So moved.
Councillor Murphy, thank you.
Second.
Councillor Moore, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
It's all there for everyone to see, man.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Yeah, I agree, it's all there. I was interested in the feedback to the TEC, yes, Electoral Commission. Just wanted a question through you, Mayor. How realistic do you think it is that we would go to a single polling day rather than postal votes?
Through you, Mayor, because ultimately the government will make a decision around that. There's significant costs to go that way, but I understand that there's been quite a bit of feedback suggesting that could be a preferred model. Interesting to see in 4 years' time.
Thank you. Further comment, questions? Councillor Ennis.
Yeah, my comment would be hold your breath, because they just spring these things on us at the last moment.
Thank you, Councillor Ennis. Further comment? No. Councillor Murphy.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. 6.3 Devonport General Cemetery Master Plan, 21 through to 31, the Year 2 update. I move the recommendation, please.
So moved.
Councillor Viney, thank you. And a seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor Murphy. Councillor Viney.
Yeah, it's great to see so much being done to look after the cemetery. I was interested to see the update. It's all there in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, it's good to see that we are progressing as per the plan. So it's a lot of work's gone into this, and it's great to see that we're keeping on track.
Thank you. Any further comment? Questions? Councillor Viney, what is please?
Consider it closed then.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 6.5, the Pioneer Park Master Plan, 18 through to 28, Year 5 status. I have move of the recommendation in place.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy and Councillor Shane. Councillor Murphy.
Again, Mayor, it's good to see that we're tracking along with the major achievements that have been achieved under this plan. It's still an area that represents a significant opportunity for East Devonport, and we'll continue to work forward.
Thank you, councillor Shea.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I know this was really close to on the councillor Laycock's part. Personally, I'm looking forward to the Torquay Garden of Reflection being finalised. Anything in East Devonport is fantastic. It's long overdue for some good community infrastructure and beautification.
Thank you. Any further comment? No. Just going on Councillor Viney's comment further about the memorial seat, about learning history that you didn't know. If we look at all these things that we're certainly putting through tonight, it's certainly we're really honouring our history. Yes, we might be a city on the move, but we're doing this really well. What Pioneer Park was before and what it is now has just been, it's just gone leaps and bounds, and such a utilised, I was there the other night at the barbecue, used by the community. It's just such a lovely space. So we've done that really well, and I know that we're hearing comment from another council where they're a bit worried about a cemetery that's being sold and what to do to honour the headstones that are there. And someone suggested, why don't you go and have a look what's happened to Pioneer Park? I was really proud of that. So we do things really well and we're getting better at it. So I do appreciate the fact that we look after our history as well. Thank you. Councillor Murphy, close.
Consider it closed, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
And against? So carried. Thank you. 6.5. Public lighting strategy 21 through to 26.
So
YouTube status. Thank you, Councillor Murphy. And second. Councillor Martin. Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, Mayor, this has been a really good one. The fact that we're actually well down the path of this, most impressively is the amount of LEDs that we've actually had in place, which is good. And as you drive around and look up, you do notice the difference too. Also, with respect to the installation of the light down there at the boat ramp, might not quite big enough, but we've got one there which has improved the safety in that particular precinct, which we've sort of just very thankful that we got it done.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, it's a good strategy, especially as mentions that the costs of having such public lighting is always increasing, but we've made leaps and bounds in regards to offsetting that through the LED lighting and having that savings counteract those increases. So it's good work by the management and staff in that regard. So congratulations to them. Nothing further there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? Questions, Councillor Hollis?
Public lighting costs, the annual cost and budgeted cost are still up between 700,000 and 800,000. Shouldn't all these LED lights and that bring the cost down to council?
Oh, look at that. That's what it is. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor. That's actually the dollar figure. So obviously the tariff's gone up over that 10-year period and our quantity of lights has gone up with new subdivisions and growth. So if you factor that in, we are certainly sort of downhill. We are seeing the savings from the LEDs come through, so it's offsetting the increase in the tariff and the increase in the number of lights that are in the city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further comment, Councillor Ennis?
Thank you. Yes, the strategy 4.1.3, is there some space in there, and is it still being considered that we put some lighting similar to we have along the waterfront from William Street on the path around to the eastern end of Coles Beach? That would be another section that we could put in, because particularly if we're talking about passive recreation, walking, using the bike paths, etc., that there in winter time, very well patronised but very dark. And whilst it's really good along the foreshore, that section could really do with some lighting. Hopefully that's been considered.
Yes, through the mayor, yes, you can answer that it's something that council could make in the forward works program for sure. And just further to add to Councillor Hollister's question earlier, if I may, I might just point out that cost of 700,000 to 800,000 for lighting is not only the energy cost, so there is a fixed rate per lamp that we pay to the provider to actually maintain and provide the light fitting. So there is a large fixed component of that, and the energy usage is only part of that 700. So the energy usage component is where we're seeing savings over the 10-year period.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. All good, Mr. Evans. Councillor Vinshinsky, you have a question?
Just that I agree with Jared with that Coles Beach area along that pathway, and it does go in bushland as such, the tea tree area, so it is a bit scary at night time going through that.
Thank you.
Lighting would be good.
Further comment? Councillor Sheik?
Yes, in relation to the Coles Beach lighting, what a surprise, I have an opinion. Look, just that its habitat, if that could just be factored into considerations. Clearly public safety's got to be a priority. If you're a person, you may not want an LED shining in your face all night. I don't know. Anyway, go for public safety, but just consider the habitat. Thank you.
The only the workshop's coming on. No problem at all. Thank you, Councillor Sheik, for your input. Well, the possums, no problem at all. Any further comment? No. Councillor Murphy to close.
Consider closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 6.6. We're up to long-term strategic asset management plan. 21 through to 31, year one, a status. Recommendations there. Councillor, could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councillor Murphy, and a seconder.
Seconded.
Councillor Mark, thank you. Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I think if councillors have read through this report and attachments with it, they will note that we're in a fairly strong position, which is a credit to the team. So well done. There's some favourable sort of goals being kicked there. So we've got a favourable variance of $1.22 million, which is something to be proud of, I think. Again, I said this for the last short period of time, last 12, 18 months, that we really have, there was some conjecture around where Devonport would be sitting after living city, and we've come out the other side, and it's in the positive compared to other LGAs in the region. So again, we tend to be a leader in this particular space within the state. So I commend everyone to the report.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. I concur with Councillor Murphy in his comments in regards to where Devonport City is at the moment. And congratulate all the officers and management in regards to the work they've done, and previous councils that have put in the work to help get us there, because it's a flow on effect down the line, and those who have caretaken and carried forward as well. So this Devonport is sitting in a good situation, and we can't stuff it up as the previous mayor said.
Thanks, Councillor Martin. Okay, so noted. Any further comment? Questions? No? Councillor Murphy to follow.
Consider it closed.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. 6.7 is our Community Services Report, November, December 2022. I have a recommendation there, a lot of information. Do I have a councillor to move that? Councillor Moore, thank you. And a second. Councillor Sheik, yes, thank you. Councillor Moore.
Sure, it was an enjoyable report to read, even though it was like page 225 or something. I really enjoyed reading this report. I think that these are the kind of events that really help people belong to the community of Devonport. Of note, just wanted to note the real variety in the community engagement and wellbeing grants that was given. I thought that was a really impressive range between badminton, because I do like sports, but between badminton and chaplaincy and guides, it was a really nice variety. And second of all, just wanted to commend the Eve in the City, New Year's Eve. We were down there and it was an amazing experience to just watch the crowds walk past, celebrating New Year's Eve. It was a fantastic community event.
It was. I'll agree with that. Thank you, Councillor Mill. Councillor Shin.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I agree with Councillor Moore's comments. The feedback I got on New Year's Eve from a wide range of people was so positive. And I think that's an event that's just going to grow organically year on year, which is fantastic. And I actually do quite like the new location. I just wanted to specifically note, I attended the youth advisory group's Music in the Square in the run-up to Christmas, and it was just fantastic. And I really hope that they keep going with that, because it was one of their first projects. Really well done, and I hope to see more of it. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Further comment, Councillor Hollister.
It's the Devonport Jobs Forum. I see that was successful. We'd like to do more of those, maybe even for the whole municipality.
Anything I can do about it was my idea, so certainly I'm going to be aiming for some more. Look, it took us a year to get to that point, I must admit. It grew from our Devonport Special Interest Group, and we certainly wanted to allow people from that area to feel comfortable to come through and speak to people that they didn't know or weren't comfortable with. So through the community services groups that we organised, it was the best way to do it, because they literally encouraged those people to come along. It was a huge success. And so we've just got to pick the right time of the year to do that, so that there are jobs ready and jobs vacant with those different industries that we've brought into that day. So we've just got to pick the right time to do it. So probably, again, that same time of the year would be the best time, I do feel. Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to comment with respect to the Schools Triathlon Challenge and the fact that now that has become the biggest event on the calendar in Tasmania. I think from the location and everything else, it now gives us the leverage to go to the state government and look at an agreement or having a licence arrangement put in place for council to be able to deal with the issues that we have down there at the Bluff, specifically around the shingle. When we're attracting 2,000 participants plus parents and everything, very, very well run event, but I think we need to be cognizant of the environment down there with respect to ensuring that we provide a facility or a venue that people will turn around and say that they want to come back to. Because when I went down there and had a look, it wasn't the most inviting of spaces, especially with the level of shingle that was in and around that precinct. And it was a topic of conversation with people that were there. So I think now this gives us the leverage to go to the state government and to Parks and Wildlife and say, well, hang on a minute, look what we're doing. We need to be able to have control over this so we can deal with it.
Very hard to fight with Mother Nature always, though. Very hard. But I understand what you're saying. Thank you. Any further comment, Councillor Hollister?
Will we be having a workshop or something on the Christmas parade and the Christmas carols? I feel they're a little bit early. I think we're being a regional city. I think ours probably should be a little bit closer to Christmas. Maybe even some encouragement with the chamber to try and do something about getting the shops open to get a benefit from that. So I was just wondering whether there's likely to be a workshop or some discussion on how the events went last year.
Yeah, through to there, presentation deliberations and looking at our list of events could be a good time for councillors to discuss that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further comment? I'm very proud to read this report every single time. It just gets better. It's just such a great read, and for all the work that's involved, thank you to those councillors that came along to certain events and helped. That's always much appreciated by the staff, I'm sure. The staff just do an amazing job, and yeah, we can carry on about Eve in the City so much, but the work that was involved ahead of time and the work that was involved the days leading to, the days after, the clean-up, people don't ever think about that. Thank you to everybody that was involved. I'm very proud to say that I don't think there was one person that didn't enjoy themselves, didn't have a smile on their face at night. And I think it was the weather was behaving itself. It's one thing you can't control. But it's just one of those beautiful nights. We have people from Launceston, we have people from Circular Head and Burnie, all over, and let alone our locals. And it was just a lovely atmosphere. Certainly that COVID has probably done us a little favour and made us appreciate things a little bit more when we can get out and about and enjoy ourselves. So very, very lucky to live in this wonderful country that we've got. So thank you. And Councillor Moore, if you would like to close the debate.
Nothing to add, consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. 6.8, Convention and Arts Report for November and December 2022 as well. Recommendation is there.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. And seconder?
Second.
Councillor Sheen, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, it just shows Devonport as the leading light in the Northwest region when it comes to arts and cultural development. It's a real credit again to the team, Mr. Dobson and Mr. Skirving. When you look at the numbers of attendees throughout the report, they're very positive. But when you look at the volume of activity and events in that space, it is significant. So we are really sort of firming ourselves as the arts centre of the coast.
Thank you. Councillor Sheen.
Thank you, Mayor. Agree with everything that Councillor Murphy has stated. Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Ennis.
Yes, I've just got a question about the cruise ship bus tours. They've sort of been in a topic lately. Could someone explain what that's about?
Yeah, that one's staying burning.
Thanks, Councillor Ennis. Mr. Dobson. Mr. Dobson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, it's been reported that a number of vessels recently have not been able to dock in Burnie at the port, which has caused some disruption regarding the ground tour bus companies. I'm no wiser as to why that's occurred, other than the reports that have already been published through the media regarding weather and other incidents.
Councillor Ennis.
I understand that, but what goes on these tours? Why is it in our thing that they come here? Is that the plan? And do we organise it, or who organises that?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Through the Botwood Company, which is a tourism organisation, tourism provider, they organise ground tours from the Burnie port. There is a Devonport attractions bus tour that leaves from the Burnie port that includes Home Hill, the Bass Strait Maritime Centre and the Don River Railway. So when the vessels don't dock, that particular bus tour doesn't occur.
Thank you. All good, Councillor Ennis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holster.
Yes, I believe when the new spirits come, the current berths where the spirits use will be freed up. Possibly we might get more of those smaller cruise ships actually straight into Devonport, which would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, it's certainly excited what has happened, but more so what's going to happen this year in the events calendar of both the arts and the town hall and the programs that was launched just recently. We didn't get along with that. Believe me, there's some great shows coming up at the town hall, which certainly worth attending. Do note though in the report, when we start talking about events and boasting about it, there's a photograph here about remarkable stories of Australians and their boats. The boat shown in here seems to be a bit shy of timber and canvas. Yeah, bit of a skeleton of it. Let's just make note of that. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Any further comment? No. Councillor Levy to close, please.
Consider it closed, mate.
Thank you. All those in favour?
No.
Yes. So carried. Thank you. 6.9, General Management, People and Finance and Corporate Services Report, November, December 2022. The recommendations there, councillors. If I could have a move of it.
So moved.
Oh, Councillor Hollister, I think you got it. Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy, did you second that then?
Yes, I'll say.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hollister.
There's a lot of information in this report. It's all there for everybody to read. And I think financially, we look as though it's sitting fairly good. Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, Councillor Hollister is right. There's a lot in this report, but again, we've moved in the right direction, so good to see.
Thank you. Any further comments? No. Councillor Hollister to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Item 7 is section 23 committees, which there are none. So we're moving into the closed session. If I can have a move,
So moved.
please. Councillor Murphy?
Second.
Martin, thank you. And Councillor Ryan? Thank you. Any comment?
No.
No? Councillor Martin Ryan?
Consider it closed.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. We're moving into closed session. Thank you to those that have attended from the public gallery. Sorry it was such a long meeting. That just shows that we've got a lot to do in this city of ours. And we thank everybody for attending.